Alright gang, this is Justin Call. I'm the president of Broomstick Monkey Games. About to show you the tricks and tools of the trade for building your own print and play version of Imperial Harvest. You can see here what a mostly finished version of the game looks like with the tiles all cut out, moat tiles there, bridges, hedges, character tokens. Got some these lovely guys here, the strawberry tokens and the victory point tokens, which we haven't punched out yet, but that's why we're showing you this video. Showing you the best ways to cut those things out. I personally prefer this 12-piece hollow punch set that I got on Amazon. A lot of the stuff that I have here you can get on Amazon if you just search, but I'll use a hammer and punch out those circular tokens. It saves me quite a bit of time. It's not the most critical thing you need. Really, I would suggest if you're going to buy anything out of all the stuff that I'm about to show you, you want a really good pair of scissors. Friskers is good. A lot of people recommend that. My favorite pair of scissors that I use for all my print and play prototyping is the Jim Holtz Tonic Studio scissors here. They've got some micro serrated something or other that's going on where it's very easy to cut through everything and easy to clean up, easy to clean off. And these have worked for me really well. So I prefer to use these anytime I need to do a lot of cutting, particularly with chipboard. Even more particularly, if you look here, you're going to notice that this is actually two pieces of chipboard glued together. I like to do that in order to make the components higher quality, more realistic, more close to what the finished version of Imperial Harvest will be like. Now you do have the option, if you're trying to scrimp and save, of either not putting any of this on chipboard, in which case I would just suggest when you print your supplies, go ahead and print on regular paper. And you can see here, we've got some of the stuff. It's already been printed. Most of this is printed on label paper, but you're not going to want to, if you're not going to use chipboard, then obviously you're not going to make a box, you're just going to bag it up. And that's totally fine. I try to do as much as I can whenever I'm print and playing, so that the quality of the game will be really visible for people that are playing and more likely to be able to get it to the table. But like I was saying, if you want, you can just print on regular paper. This is label paper, but you can just use regular paper. And then you see here there's this middle line. You just fold, when you're done, fold that in half. And you can glue or tape the sides of these pieces together. So this is one tile right here. And once it's folded, then it'll be double-sided. So that will create a paper print and play copy of your game. Super easy to do. All you need is a pair of scissors and either some glue or tape. If you're going to glue it, I would recommend using a glue stick. Tape is just as easy though, and you can actually do some pretty neat stuff. I call this the poor man's laminator, but if you can get some of this 2-inch Scotch tape, this particular brand, Shipping Packaging Tape, they've got some thinner kind that doesn't hold up as well, but with this you can see it's the exact same width as the tiles. So you can line that up and laminate these pieces of paper if you'd like, and then once you've laminated the whole strip, fold it in half, use that same piece of tape to stick it together and then cut it out, and you'll have all of your tiles ready to go. I prefer, however, to, as I was saying earlier, use chipboard. So I print these off on label paper, and the label paper that I use is 8.5 by 11 white shipping labels, Avery 5165. I prefer laser. If you're going to print on ink, though, you do want some ink labels, because there will be a difference, and the ink from the laser paper will smear if you're using an ink printer. But this stuff's jam-free and smudge-free when you're using it with a laser printer. And my goodness, is the quality so much better when you do that. So this label paper that you see here, I'll go ahead and slap it onto this chipboard, which you can see an example of right here. The chipboard that I use, this really isn't chipboard, it's a press board, which you can see what that is. It's labeled here. Smeed gray-green press board 50334 says here. I don't know what the S113 is, but letter size, third cut. This Smeed pressboard gives you 100 copies, I should say 100 sheets of pressboard, and this stuff's pretty good. This is what people will stick inside of hanging file folders whenever they're trying to organize them better. So if you work in an office environment, chances are there's a lot of people throwing these things out, or just lying around people don't want to use. I would not recommend stealing any supplies from your office environment, but if people are no longer using them or have used them and are tossing them out. Great way to recycle these things. You can even, to a certain extent, use manila folders if they're of a thicker quality, but this press board, you can see it's actually about 1 millimeter thick, which is thicker than most actual manila folders. Like I was saying though, if you take these labels, you slap them on here, and then when I'm going to show you how the process is. We're going to cut out around here, and we're going to put a line through the center of these labels using one of these guys. I typically do not recommend a Frisker's sliding cutters. They're just not as good as a pair of scissors or a guillotine cutter. But for this particular work, it's great because this 1 millimeter press board, combined with this, you can slice down the middle of this, and it's going to give you a nice flap where you can just fold things over, add some rubber cement to the center of those tiles, and then when you slice them in the center, you're just going to be able to fold them in half. They'll have basically a hinge of press board that's left, and they'll glue, they'll hold, and then you'll have your double-sided chipboard with the labels, and you'll basically only have to cut them out either using scissors for the small pieces, or you can use your guillotine cutter for the larger pieces. So again, just a quick run through of supplies. If you want to make this a really nice copy, you don't have to use all this, you can just use paper. But I would recommend this Frisker's paper cutter. I believe it's a 9-inch or 10-inch, 8.5 inches. That's what it says right here. So use one of those. If you're going to use the press board to get that hinge in the center, you can just cut it in the center using a guillotine cutter or scissors, but then you're going to have to line up the pieces afterwards and then glue them and then reposition them and kind of finagle them. And I try to minimize how often you have to do that so that it's really easy, really quick to make the copy, and there's less room for error. So this is, so far as I've tested, the best way to do this. I've tested a lot of different things on a single chipboard and putting labels on after you cut out a lot of the pieces, and it's just, this is going to be much easier. So if you're going to want to make a really nice copy of the game, you can either just do the paper copy like I mentioned before, or do what I'm suggesting here, which is get yourself some of this chipboard, press board, get some labels, the ones I mentioned before, Avery. You just throw each label, fits perfectly onto a sheet, and then you can trim off as needed around the edges. Everything's labeled, so you should be able to match everything up and just fold the pieces over. You look here, for example, you've got these tiles, which are right next to each other, these tokens, which are double-sided, so you just add a line right here, fold them over. It should be relatively easy to make. And similar thing goes here. If you want to make a copy of the box, some of you may not have the handy-dandy looking print-and-play boxes. We're only making those available to the people that back our Kickstarter project. So when our Kickstarter launches on February, I believe it's February 17th of 2015, please do back. If you back the game, you will get files that allow you to make your own copies of the box. You can also back the minimal level, which I believe is $1, and it lets you get the print-and-play copies like this. Otherwise, for the moment, you can download the files on our website at broomstickmonkey.com. You can also download them on our website at boardgamegeek.com. A lot of you folks probably don't like to leave the site too often. If you can get the files there, so much the better. But when you're done, you'll be able to fit everything inside this box, along with the rules, setup manual. Very small, very compact. You can actually fit 2 whole copies of Imperial Harvest in here, which will play up to 4 people. The game is designed for 1 to 2 players, but as we mentioned in many places, each new copy of the game that you add allows you to play 2 extra players. So again, a poor man's way of making this game, testing out, see if you like it. We have some black and white files there, so you don't need to use ink on broomstickmonkey.com if you want. We also have the color files. But I would suggest printing out 1 copy of the game. Don't double-side anything, just cut everything out single piece. That way you have essentially 2 copies of the game, because everything's double-sided. And then you can go ahead and play the game with some friends, see if you like it, and then if you do, then I suggest either in the interim printing off on the label paper and the press board, making yourself a really nice version of the game, and you can get it to the table more often, bring it to a lot of people. And you know, if it's close to February, back the game, get yourself your own copy of Imperial Harvest. We would love to have as many backers as possible. The more people that back, the better the qualities will be, the thicker the chipboard will be. We've got some stretch goals from some extra things. There's going to be some fun promos and add-ons and wonderful stuff. We're not going to get into the actual gameplay. This is just how to build the game. So you've basically seen all the components you need. You've got, again, these will help you for getting out the circular tokens. You can use a pair of scissors, a good pair of scissors you're going to need in order to do any of this, because there's some fine cutting along the way. when you get to cutting out the cards, you're going to want to have... There aren't many cards in the game, there's 10, but you're going to want some tarot-sized cards. These are Final Fantasy sleeves, tarot board game size. They're 70 by 120, so you can get these on Amazon, super cheap, and you don't even have to print your cards on cardstock or label paper. Just print them on regular paper and slip them into those sleeves, and they're pretty durable. You can keep them on that. But if you are really interested in making a really, really nice copy of the game, you can also, let's see, misplaced it here. You can also just get some blank tarot card size stuff, and you slide it into your card, and it gives it a much thicker feel, like a real card. And that's fine too. It's entirely up to you, but the sleeves by themselves are really sufficient, especially if you're double-siding and sticking 2 slips of paper in there. And the Hydra, you don't really need to double-side it. For the other cards, you definitely do, since there's basic versions of the game, which you can see here. Let's see, there's the label paper. There we go. I was saying, I've got a rulebook and setup manual in there that we've printed off for several copies we're sending to reviewers, but you look at the character cards like you see here. We've got our advanced characters, and we've got our basic characters. So this is the basic ones. These are the advanced ones. Zoomed in is advanced, basic is zoomed out. You're going to want both sides of those for your cards. Slip those in. That should be all the components you really need. The next video you see is going to be an explanation of exactly how to do it. We're going to zoom through everything and just really give you the experience of what it's like to make your own copy of this game. We love it so much, we really want you to be able to have it. If you can't back the Kickstarter, that's okay. Go ahead and make another copy anyway and just play it with your friends. We know you'll love it. But when you do love it, if you have the ability to do so, please do back our Kickstarter, and you will get an even better version of the game, because as good as it's going to be when you make a nice print-and-play copy, it's going to be even better when you get the copy in the mail. From us, it's beautiful looking with the extra components. There's going to be opportunities to get penny gems and promo cards and lots of other fun things. But for now, check us out at broomstickmonkey.com. Subscribe to us on Facebook. We've got some cool blog posts on our website. More videos like this. We're going to show you how to play the game and, of course, the actual hands-on how to cut out everything. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Justin Call, and hope you have a great day.